Hi, I actually have some stretches that you can do at home every single day. Should you be stretching every day? Actually, yes, you should, even if it's just for 5 to 10 minutes. But most of us don't. It's very easy to hear about stretching, but it's also just as easy to get lazy about doing it. What we find is that if you do stretches every day, you're going to increase the gain of what those stretches are designed to do, to increase your flexibility, to increase your mobility, to help increase your balance. Also, to help with your posture, stand up straight, shoulders back. What ends up happening in life as we age, everything is done in front of us. You think about it, picking up a baby or a toddler, everything out here. Sitting at a computer, everything out here. Playing the piano, out here. Playing a sport, out here. Even doing hard work or gardening, everything is out in front of us. So what happens is if we don't stretch, if we don't take the time to balance our body, these muscles, the pectoral muscles, get shorter and shorter because we're doing all this motion. And what ends up happening is the back is compensating. Because these muscles are getting shorter, these muscles are getting longer. And the older we get, the more we start to curve, the more we start to shorten our bodies. So it's important to stand up straight. It's important to get that posture in the right position. What can you do at home that's easy and will help you both upper body and lower body to stay fluid, to stay balanced, to stay flexible, and to keep that mobility as good as it gets for as long as you live? I'm going to show you a couple of things in my closet and in my bedroom that you can do first thing in the morning or whenever it's easy for you. First, let's talk about the upper body and those pectoral muscles. This is one of the easiest things you can do. Find a doorway. Now, make sure that the door is open. So you're walking through the door. You're not doing this with the door closed. Now what you're going to do, and there are a couple different ways that you can do this, I want you to put your hands in a 90-degree angle at the doorway. And then I want you to put one foot forward and lean into that door. What you're going to find is that you'll feel that wonderful stretch through the chest and through the shoulders. So as you get stronger and as you get stronger and as you get stronger or more flexible, you're going to find yourself falling forward into that door a little more each time you do it. Another way that you can do this exercise or this stretch is to straighten your arms. So instead of bending them, straighten your arms. And now take that foot back, and instead of leaving it forward, I want you to just lean into that stretch and feel how wonderful that pull feels under the arms, through the shoulders, the pectoral muscles, and even up through the neck. Now in this position, or in this position, you can also just very gently turn your head from left to right. And you'll also get a nice stretch through the neck because it's just as easy to find yourself sleeping wrong or having neck pain as it is having chest or back pain. So that's a very, very easy stretch to do. And I would recommend just finding an easy doorway and then stretching. Even if you just do that for 2 minutes at a time, give yourself relief and do it again for 2 minutes at a time. Let's move on to another one that's very effective for these muscles, just to give you a little variety. Okay, here's another really good one to stretch out the pectoral muscles. I want you to come to the bed. Okay, this is a great one to do first thing in the morning. I'm going to use the bench just for camera purposes and so that you can see without the bounce of a mattress. But come to the end of the bed or the edge of the bed. As I say, first thing in the morning, all I want you to do is move to the edge of the bed so that your shoulder is actually hanging off of the bed just a little bit, okay? If it's easier for you to keep your legs straight, feel free. I just like to bend my knees because it takes the strain off my back. It takes a little bit more pressure off my back when I bend my knees. So bring your arms straight up. Now I want you to drop it down to the side so that it's actually falling off the bed and it's at a 90-degree angle from your body. Your other arm can be straight down or as you're feeling this fantastic stretch through the shoulder and all the way through the chest and pectoral muscles, that's where it shortens over time. You can actually rub that area and you can feel, it's not really a great feeling because it's so tight through there and it's taken a lot of strain over the years. But if you rub that area, you're actually sort of releasing the fascia from those muscles that are helping to hold it so tight. And just remember, it's taken a long time for you to get here. So if you have the time to do it every morning before you get out of bed, it'll eventually release and you'll be able to stand up straighter, posture better, less strain on your back, and even more flexibility through your chest and shoulders. Now, lift that arm up and move it back a little bit. You see the difference in the angle to the body. Now drop it down. You'll see that it doesn't drop nearly as far off the bed as it did even when it was directly out to the side. That's how tight everything is through these shoulders, under your arm, across the chest, across the décolleté. So give this time. If you want to, if it's easier for you to look out at your hand, you may certainly do that. If you want a deeper stretch, look up to the ceiling. At this stage, I would not recommend looking away from your hand. And I also want to encourage you not to hold on to anything. No weight and no one pressing on your arm. Just let gravity take its course. Now, raise it up before you move it, just to release the strain. And now go past that 90 degrees and come down closer to the hip without touching the hip, okay? Now drop it down. You'll see that the range of motion is even greater down here because I'm actually getting closer to having my hand in front of my body again. But it's still a great stretch. And in this case, if you want to, look away from your hand, the hand that's dropped off the side of the bed, you'll feel a much deeper stretch through that same area. And actually should feel really good. And just take your time with this. There's no need to rush. Stretching should be comfortable and easy and releasing. It's almost there. It's therapeutic. Not almost, it is. All right, look back up to the ceiling, raise your arm up. Let's go out to the side one more time and drop it down. If you need to look over to your hand to allow your body to relax into this stretch, go right ahead. Just let that stretch take its course. And you'll probably find that you can drop it down even further the second time you come out to this position. Deep breath in and deep breath out. Lift that arm up and pull it back in. Good job. Okay, let's switch sides. Okay, swinging on over to the other side. Now, come all the way over to the very edge of your bed so that your shoulder is once again over the edge of your bed. Take your arm up, straight up. You can either bend your knees or you can keep them straight, whatever's comfortable for you. And bring that arm down. And initially, you might want to look over at your hand because that's going to be a little less strain on your neck. But as you get a little bit stronger and you find that you're able to drop your arm a little bit more each time, look at the ceiling instead, and you'll find that that intensifies the stretch through those pectoral muscles. And just let that other arm relax. Nothing in your hand, just gravity pulling down on your arm and stretching out your shoulder, stretching out those pectoral muscles. And if it feels better to rub on those pecs because you're actually rubbing the fascia against that muscle and allowing it to release, allowing that muscle more freedom of movement, you can always do that. Let it hang there for a couple of minutes. Just feel that nice, comfortable stretch. Now raise your arm up, move it back a little bit, and drop it back down. Nowhere near the same kind of range of motion that you got when it was coming straight out at 90 degrees, but that's okay. It takes time, and you need to allow it that time, which is why this becoming a daily routine for you could be very beneficial. I can feel how tight those muscles are right now. I sleep on the right side of the bed, so when I do this, it's easier for me to do the right shoulder than it is the left. I have to turn around backwards to do that, but it's worth that extra effort. Okay, raise it back up, move it down like a pendulum, like a clock, like the hands on a clock, and come down to that, say, 4 o'clock position and drop it back down. A lot of people may be able to almost come completely parallel down to the floor. You can see the dramatic drop when I get closer to my hip with my forearm. Just let it hang there. And if you want to, in a stretch like this, look the opposite way from your shoulder. You'll feel even more of a stretch when you do that. Now bring your head back, raise your arm up, and one more time, come completely out to the side, directly at a 90-degree angle from your body, and let it drop down. You might even find that you're able to drop that hand a little further down than you did when you first started this stretch. That's okay, that's a good thing. And if not, if it takes you a little bit more time, give it that time. It took you a long time to get here. You've got plenty of time to work it back out. And bring it up. Good job. All right, on to the next stretch. All right, for the next stretch, I came back to the closet door because it's a good place for you to use to hang on to for stability or balance. Because in this one, you're going to be on one leg at a time. And this is to continue to stretch the lower half of the body, the quadriceps, and also the hamstrings and glutes. So let's start by doing your basic quad stretch. Hang onto the door frame and take one leg and hold it at the ankle. Then, if this is where you start out because your thigh is pulled back from the body, and that's the closest that you can get to getting your thighs parallel, start out there, but work toward bringing those thighs together. And at that point, relax into that standing hip. So instead of holding it up like this, I want you to relax into that standing hip. And then the closer you can pull that foot, that heel, towards your booty, the better, so that you're getting a nice stretch through the quad. And that will also open up that whole area when we talked about stretching, mobility, balance. All these things play into this particular stretch. So let's move to the other side. Once again, grab your ankle, or you could also grab the top of your foot. If this is the way that you start out, that's fine, but try to get those thighs parallel and then relax into that hip, the standing leg hip. What you're doing is trying to get those thighs parallel, and you're actually stretching out the quadricep, the front of that bent leg. So pull that heel into your butt, into your gluteus maximus. When you do that, you're stretching out that quadricep, and you're actually lengthening or helping to stretch and lengthen those quad muscles. Those also, just like your back, can get very tight over time. So hold that stretch for a little while. Relax into that hip, enjoy that nice stretch, and do this on a daily basis. Here's another one that you can do as we move right into the triangle stretch, or some people call it the figure 4. So take that first leg, take that ankle of the first leg, put it on the quad, put it on the front of your thigh of the opposite leg. Now, as you hold on, sit down And I don't mean tuck in and move forward. I mean sit that booty down as if you're sitting right in a chair, which is why I want you to have the stability of the door frame to hang on to. But sit into that seat and you should feel a nice stretch through the quadricep of that bent leg. And you're also going to feel a stretch to the hamstring and the glute muscle of that standing leg. So sit there for a minute and think about pushing that knee further and further to the floor. Okay, move into the other side. Put the opposite leg ankle on the opposite thigh and sit down. Stick that booty out. Okay, don't try to tuck it in. Don't try to stand up straight on this one. I want you to sit into that chair because I want you to feel that stretch through the standing leg hamstring and glute. And I also want you to feel that stretch through the bent leg in the inner thigh. So if you want to, you can do a little gentle push on that knee. But my recommendation is just let gravity take its course. Sit into that leg and feel that nice stretch through the inner thigh. Excellent. Very easy to do, very quick stretching exercises. Let's go to the next one. Now for this next stretch, you need to be comfortable getting down on the floor. And it's a little awkward at first, but I think once you learn how to do it, you'll find that it's very, very beneficial. This is a really good way to stretch the quad muscles, the hamstring muscles, the back of your thigh, and also your glute muscles and groin muscles. It's called the pigeon, and you'll see why in this stance. So if you're down on the floor and you're comfortable, the best way to get into it, and there are a number of different ways that you could get into it, but I would just say bring one foot forward and you'll see I've got that front knee bent, okay? And the back leg is going to come back into a fairly straight position. You're never going to be wanting to lock it. Now, once you're comfortable in this position, I want you to pull yourself up off that glute, off that front glute. So you're sitting more forward on your thigh and front knee. At this point, you should also feel a stretch right through that back leg in your quad muscle and your groin muscle, okay? At this particular position, if you're flexible enough, you could bring that foot a little further forward into more of a 90-degree angle. I'm not that flexible. I'm very, very tight, always have been. Trying out for cheerleading was tough, but a lot of stretching and a lot of practice finally got me into the splits. So you might have been a person who could just do that on a dime. If you're not that flexible, push yourself up. Now you should feel at this point a stretch to the back of your thigh as well, that front thigh, and through the glute muscle. Once you're comfortable here, I want you to pull yourself down. I'm going to move over just a little bit. I want you to pull yourself down onto your elbows and just rest here if you can for a minute. If you can't and you're up in this position, because that's as far as you can get, you should still feel a wonderful stretch. If you're not feeling a stretch through that quad, through the back of that other hamstring and the glute and even the upper hip, then you definitely should be able to come down into this position. So this is called the pigeon. And if you can get comfortable here and sit for a couple of minutes, you'll appreciate that nice deep stretch that you're getting through the hips, the thighs, quads, hamstrings, and your butt muscle. At this point, at this juncture, to get an even deeper stretch, come down into a T and rest your chest right on that front thigh. And if you can just sit here. And if it's more comfortable, you can even bring your hands out front instead of out to a T. But this is the pigeon. Now work yourself on up. And let's try the other side. You're going to find that one side is much more easy to get into than the other. So swing around. Bring your other leg back, which in my case is my right leg. I'm going to bring my left leg, my left knee forward, and I'm going to bend it. Again, that lack of flexibility, and bring that right leg back. Now at this point, I'm going to come off my glute. See how I'm rocking forward. I don't want to sit back this way because I'm not feeling much of a stretch. So you've got to force your body to allow you to kind of pull yourself up off of that glute and into the thigh. You'll feel a stretch through the inner thigh. You'll feel a stretch through the quad muscle of the back leg. Now from here, if you can, come down onto your elbows and try to bring that foot, that front foot, a little further forward for a little deeper stretch. As I said, one side is going to be more flexible than the other. If you feel that real nice deep stretch and want to intensify it, come down and put your chest on that front thigh and stretch out those arms into a T, or bring them above your head into that forward position. I like it a little bit better in the T because I can literally push myself up and further into that stretch this way. And it gives me a little more support. But it takes a while to just relax into it. Take a deep breath. And exhale. And take a deep breath in through your nose. And exhale out through your mouth. And each time you allow yourself to deep breathe, you'll feel yourself sitting further and further and further into that stretch. Very slow and methodical. That's what these stretches are all about. Nothing rushed, nothing forced. If any of this is too much, you just listen to your body and come down or up as much as you need to in order to benefit from that stretch. So that is the pigeon. Now, if you'd like to come around and sit into a nice, easy pose and let those legs relax just a little bit and just bounce those knees a little bit. And now put your right hand on your left knee and look back over your left shoulder, okay? With your left arm behind you. And feel a stretch through the shoulder and through the back. Okay, come back around. Put your left hand on your right knee. Bring your right hand back and look over that right shoulder. Good. Just a little bit of a twist. Good. Now, bring those feet together and hang on to your ankles and just flutter those knees. There you go. Just open it back up and relax. Good. Now bring those legs back together, cross them in front, raise your arms up, and fall forward with those arms directly down in front of you. Good. Oh, you should feel another stretch through the inner thighs and the glutes. Now, arch your back and inhale in a cat position. Exhale and push forward again. Feeling an even deeper stretch. Your hands may even be able to come further out in front than they did before. Do that one more time. Inhale, arch your back like a cat. And exhale, push forward. Good. Slowly walk your hands up. Inhale. And exhale. Namaste. Good job. I hope that stretching was very beneficial. Do it frequently, and I think you'll find that your body is much more flexible, much more fluid, much more relaxed, and I think more stress-free. See you next time for another Get Fit with Judy.